Pogacar has conquered the Tour de France. He has won the Giro d'Italia. He has won major one-day races and a world championship. But the Vuelta remains a crucial missing Grand Tour victory, because several of cycling's biggest historical benchmarks are moving within sight. The records of Eddy Merckx, the Grand Tour range of Bernard Hinault, the sustained dominance of Miguel Indurain, the precision of Jacques Anquetil, names that have defined cycling's ceiling for decades. In 2026, that ceiling may be about to move. Tadej Pogačar won the opening 9-kilometer time trial by a razor-thin 9/100ths of a second. For casual sports fans, cycling can seem complex. Individual stage wins offer daily glory, but the ultimate prize is the general classification, the lowest combined time over 21 days of racing, marked by the red jersey. Only 8 riders in history have ever won all 3 of cycling's Grand Tours: the Giro d'Italia, the Tour de France, and the Vuelta a España. Pogačar has conquered Italy and France, but Spain remains unconquered. The race is an unpredictable 3-week battle across more than 3,000 kilometers of high-altitude climbs and searing summer heat. One mechanical failure, one sudden illness, or one strategic error can dismantle a lifetime of ambition. As the peloton heads into the mountains, the central question of modern cycling hangs over every pedal stroke. Are we witnessing the systematic rewriting of sports history, or are we projecting a legendary outcome onto an unfinished race? Before the public mythology and the historic collection of jerseys, there was simply a 20-year-old Slovenian professional testing his limits. When he lined up for the 1919 Vuelta a España, he was a raw talent, unmapped by the traditional boundaries of cycling specialism. He possessed an unusual blend of high-altitude climbing power and flat-terrain time trial potential, backed by an aggressive willingness to attack from distance. But a 3-week Grand Tour is a brutal test of endurance. It demands relentless physical consistency and tactical maturity day after day. For this young rider, the transition from promising prospect to genuine 3-week contender remained entirely unproven. Spain would provide the first real evidence of whether his body and mind could handle that relentless pressure. During that 1919 Vuelta, the 20-year-old Slovenian did more than just survive. He rode with a fierce, tactical aggression that stunned the veteran peloton. Pogačar secured 3 mountain stage victories, including a bold 39-kilometer solo raid through the cold rain of Stage 20. That effort vaulted him onto the final podium in Madrid, finishing 3rd overall. It was a breakthrough that proved his high-altitude climbing power and 3-week endurance, but his ultimate test against the clock lay just 1 year away. At the 2020 Tour de France, Pogačar found himself locked in a tense battle with the established Slovenian champion, Primož Roglič. Roglič was at the peak of his powers, backed by a dominant team, and seemingly in total control of the race. It all came down to Stage 20, a brutal 36-kilometer individual time trial, finishing on the steep slopes of La Planche des Belles Filles. In this discipline, riders race entirely alone, stripped of team protection, drafting advantages, and tactical hiding places. It is a lonely, agonizing race against the clock. Pogačar started the day with a daunting 57-second deficit to Roglič. To win, he needed to pull off the near impossible. While Roglič showed visible signs of strain under the immense pressure, Pogačar executed a masterclass in pacing, bike exchanges, and climbing efficiency. When the dust settled, Pogačar had not only overturned the deficit, but had gained nearly 2 minutes on his compatriot to snatch the yellow jersey on the final day. This dramatic reversal shattered the existing cycling hierarchy. It was a historic upset that instantly redefined Pogačar's career, serving as the launching pad for the multiple Tour de France victories that followed and solidifying his reputation as a rider who thrives when the pressure is highest. But this early dominance did not make Pogačar invincible. In 2022 and 2023, the cycling world watched the Slovenian's absolute supremacy crack under the steady pressure of Jonas Vingegaard. During the 2022 Tour de France, Vingegaard executed a brilliant tactical siege, leaving Pogačar in second place overall, 1 minute and 31 seconds behind. It was a defeat measured in physical data, where Vingegaard's superior climbing pace and calculated energy management exposed the vulnerabilities of Pogačar's explosive, attack-heavy style. Supported by a team that systematically wore Pogačar down over 3 weeks, Vingegaard proved that raw talent could be isolated and beaten through sustained collective pressure. The reality of professional cycling changed overnight. The question was no longer whether anyone could challenge Pogačar, but what he would have to change within his own performance system to regain the top step. Vingegaard was no villain, but a highly respected equal, a rival who matched him climb for climb and forced him to re-evaluate his tactical timing. This rivalry made Pogačar's pursuit of greatness far more complex, transforming his victories from inevitable outcomes into hard-fought campaigns. Pogačar answered the tactical puzzle of his Tour de France defeats, not with silent contemplation, but with a relentless expansion of his racing calendar. He stopped defining his entire season by a single race in July. The response began in May of 2024 at the Giro d'Italia. Could a rider built for the high-speed roads of France survive the cold, unpredictable mountain passes of Italy? He won 6 stages and took the pink jersey by nearly 10 minutes, proving his 3-week dominance existed outside the French border. Next came the one-day arena. The World Championship in Zurich demanded a different kind of resilience, a single chaotic afternoon racing for a national team without his usual trade team support. A bold solo attack with 100 kilometers remaining secured the rainbow jersey, demonstrating an unmatched tactical instinct. This ambition extended directly into the monuments, cycling's historic one-day classics. Multiple victories at Liège-Bastogne-Liège, the Tour of Flanders, and 5 consecutive triumphs at Lombardia proved his explosive climbing and bike handling could master roads that pure stage racers traditionally avoided. When he returned to France in July of 2026 to capture his 5th Tour title by over 6 minutes, the victory carried a new weight. It was no longer just about defending a single crown. It was the culmination of a 3-year evolution, reshaping him into an all-terrain force. If a rider can dominate 3-week Grand Tours, World Championships, and the hardest single-day classics, the old categories of modern cycling no longer apply. Modern professional cycling is built on narrow, ruthless specialization. Riders sculpt their bodies for incredibly specific tasks, leaving no room for compromise. A Grand Tour contender strips away upper body muscle to conquer high-altitude mountain passes, deliberately sacrificing the raw power and skeletal mass needed to survive the bone-rattling cobblestones of the spring classics. Training windows are calculated to the day, altitude camps are timed to the minute, and recovery is managed down to the gram. Team roles are highly restricted, turning elite athletes into single-purpose machines. The physical demands of a 3-week race are fundamentally different from the violent, explosive efforts of a one-day monument. The margins are simply too thin to allow for crossover, yet Tadej Pogačar operates entirely outside these boundaries. He matches pure climbers on sustained high-altitude climbs, beats Olympic-level specialists in flat individual time trials, and outsprints classics riders on steep, explosive ascents. This range is a physical anomaly in the modern era. In his 2026 campaign, he secured 19 World Tour victories across just 19 race days, demonstrating an unprecedented level of efficiency. This extreme versatility is the real driver behind the historical comparisons to legends of the past, rather than absolute proof of a greatest-ever verdict. He challenges the very structure of modern sports science, forcing a fundamental question: how does one rider escape the biological limits that confine the rest of the peloton? Jacques Anquetil ruled with absolute precision and time trial authority. Miguel Indurain controlled the Tour de France through calculated, time trial-led dominance. Bernard Hinault defined cross-Grand Tour range, winning 10 Grand Tours across France, Italy, and Spain. Then there is Eddy Merckx, the ultimate breadth benchmark, who amassed 11 Grand Tours, 19 monuments, and 525 professional victories. Comparing these eras, however, is highly imperfect. The sport has fundamentally evolved. Merckx and Anquetil raced on heavy steel frames, navigating massive 200-kilometer time trials without aerodynamic gear, structured anti-doping environments, or modern competitive depth. Today, Pogačar operates within a professionalized, data-driven system. Wind tunnels, real-time power metrics, and specialized team budgets of 33 million euros have compressed performance margins to a razor-thin edge. Yet the comparison remains historically significant, even without declaring Pogačar the greatest ever. He is the only five-time Tour champion who has yet to win the Vuelta a España. While Merckx's total win record remains out of reach due to modern calendar specialization, Pogacar's 13 monument titles and 6 Grand Tour victories show a level of versatility unseen in decades. The debate focuses on his ability to transcend the boundaries of modern specialization, rather than a simple tally of raw numbers. To reshape the conversation permanently, certain future achievement categories will be essential. Winning all 3 Grand Tours is the immediate threshold. Beyond Spain, his pursuit of the missing monuments, particularly the cobblestones of Paris-Roubaix, and further World Championship titles will determine his ultimate standing against the legends of the... On August 23, 2026, the hypothetical comparisons give way to the heat of the tarmac. The peloton is rolling out of Monaco for Stage 2, a punishing run of 214 kilometers toward Manosque, featuring 3,000 meters of climbing. Having snatched the red leader's jersey yesterday by a mere 900ths of a second, Tadej Pogačar stands on the edge of the ultimate career sweep. Only 8 riders in history have won all 3 Grand Tours. Spain is the missing piece of his puzzle, connecting his raw breakthrough in 2019 to his present prime. The official roadbook outlines a brutal 3-week test consisting of 3,200 kilometers and over 58,000 meters of vertical climbing. The early mountain blocks arrive fast, with a summit finish at Font Romeu on Stage 3 and 15% gradients in Andorra on Stage 4. Later, the riders must face a grueling 40-kilometer individual time trial, the baking heat of the Alto de Aitana on Stage 9, and the high-altitude wall of Peñas Blancas on Stage 19 before a final mountain showdown on the Collado del Alguacil. The competition will not make this path easy. While defending champion Jonas Vingegaard is absent due to injury, a star-studded field remains. Primož Roglič is hunting a record 5th Vuelta crown, while Remco Evenepoel, Richard Carapaz, Felix Gall and Matthias Skjelmoser pose constant threats on the steep gradients, supported by strong outsiders like Oscar Only. Over 3 weeks, everything remains uncertain. Searing southern temperatures, rapid dehydration, sudden crashes, mechanical failures or tactical isolation can destroy an early advantage in a single afternoon. 3 distinct outcomes remain open. Pogačar could conquer the final circuit in Granada to rewrite cycling history, land on the podium as a defeated favourite, or suffer a shocking abandonment. In Spain, the road itself always has the final word. The red jersey is contested against a generation of riders who have spent years forcing Pogačar to evolve. At the forefront is Primož Roglič, the elder Slovenian champion whose 4 Vuelta titles represent the very lineage Pogačar seeks to join. Roglič represents the ultimate standard in Spain, a champion whose history with this race defines modern Vuelta success. Then there is Jonas Vingegaard, the quiet climber who proved Pogačar was human, forcing him to discard tactical recklessness for calculated patience. Although absent from this edition, Vingegaard's legacy remains in the punishing physical standards Pogačar must now maintain to survive. Alongside them stands Remco Evenepoel, the modern Grand Tour and time trial benchmark whose explosive versatility mirrors Pogačar's own multi-terrain ambitions. These are independent champions rather than simple obstacles in a hero myth, driving the entire sport to unprecedented physical limits. To beat them, a rider cannot rely on natural talent alone. Surviving their collective pressure requires a massive, coordinated ecosystem of scientific support, elite team resources, and strategic planning. While the public focus remains on Pogačar's individual brilliance, his ability to sustain these extreme physical efforts over 3 weeks relies on the UAE Team Emirates XRG performance organization. On the road, specialized domestiques control early breakaways, set a relentless tempo on the lower mountain slopes, and shield their leader from the wind to preserve his energy. Behind the scenes, his preparation is entirely clinical. A dedicated support staff of coaches, analysts, nutritionists, and physiotherapists monitor his daily recovery and physical output. Every stage demands customized high-carbohydrate fueling plans, paired with the physiological benefits of targeted heat acclimation and altitude training camps. In 2026, this system extends directly to his physical equipment. Pogačar competes on a Colnago frame equipped with Shimano components, rolling on NV carbon wheels and Continental tires, with his pacing and power output tracked in real time by Garmin devices. Every component is refined through wind tunnel testing and computational fluid dynamics to reduce aerodynamic drag on flat and rolling terrain. Yet these data-driven platforms and premium machines do not guarantee a red jersey. Instead, they serve as a support system designed to maximize efficiency, giving Pogačar the physical foundation required to survive 3 weeks of sustained, high-intensity racing. This explosive speed is not isolated to one team. Across the entire peloton, professional cycling is getting faster. A 2024 sports science study found that optimized carbohydrate intake, systematic altitude training, and advanced aerodynamics have boosted average climbing speeds by 2 to 3% over the last decade. Riders now consume over 100 grams of carbohydrates per hour, altering their metabolic capacity. Combine that with optimized sleep tracking, heat acclimation, and continuous glucose monitoring, and the baseline of the sport has shifted entirely. Yet measuring these gains across eras remains highly imperfect. Wind, asphalt quality, drafting dynamics, and stage lengths mean a climbing record from 30 years ago cannot be easily mapped against modern power files. Better equipment does not diminish the physical feats of past champions, it simply highlights how much the baseline has risen. Tadej Pogačar represents the very edge of this modern ceiling, a living test of just how fast a human being can travel on 2 wheels. World Tour teams operate on serious capital, with the largest squads like UAE Team Emirates holding budgets near €33 million. Within this ecosystem, media estimates place Pogačar's base salary at roughly €8 million, potentially rising to $12 million with performance bonuses. Endorsements with brands like Santini and Garmin add an estimated $1 to $2 million annually. This dwarfs the actual race winnings. The Vuelta overall victor receives just €120,000. The real value exchange is commercial exposure for sponsors. Yet while tens of millions can buy elite support and extensive testing, no amount of funding can eliminate the ultimate uncertainty of a 3-week race. Beyond the immediate battle in Spain lies a broader matrix of historical possibilities, not a predetermined path to glory. If Tadej Pogačar secures the 2026 Vuelta, he completes the Triple Crown sweep of all 3 Grand Tours, entering an elite club of just 8 riders in the history of the sport. Near-term milestones are highly achievable, from chasing a record-breaking 6th Tour de France title to adding more monuments to his current tally of 13 victories. But as the horizon expands, the records become increasingly distant and speculative. Matching Eddy Merckx's 19 monument victories would require years of flawless classics campaigns, while Merckx's 525 career wins remain practically untouchable in an era defined by extreme specialization and deep professional competition. Sustaining this level of dominance over another decade is not a matter of simple talent. It depends on a fragile equilibrium of physical health, psychological motivation, evolving team strategies, and his own changing physiology as a younger generation of rivals arrives to challenge him. The boundaries of what Pogačar can achieve are open, but in professional cycling, a legendary legacy is never a certainty. Cycling legacies are almost always written in retrospect. We typically wait for the grey hair, the retirement press conferences, and the passage of decades before we truly measure a champion against the ghosts of the past. But Tadej Pogačar has forced a different timeline. His place in cycling history is being debated, challenged, and calculated in real time, while he is still near his absolute physical peak. Spain remains the perfect theatre for this unfolding career. It was here in 1919 that a 20-year-old Slovenian first announced his arrival to the cycling world, and it is here that his present limits are being tested. Whether he secures the red jersey or falls short on the blistering mountain roads, the narrative does not find a neat resolution. A victory in Spain completes one historic pathway without settling every comparison, while a defeat leaves his staggering list of achievements fully intact. The story remains open, shifting with every pedal stroke. The question is no longer simply whether Tadej Pogačar can win another bike race. It is how much of cycling history he can rewrite before his career is finished. We are no longer just watching an athlete in his prime, we are witnessing the absolute outer limits of human performance. In an era of clinical precision, Pogačar brings something beautifully unpredictable to the road. The question is no longer simply whether he can win another race, it is how much of cycling history he will rewrite before he is finished. Where do you think his ceiling lies? Let us know in the comments.